Today on the Pokémon Masterclass, I am joined by the boys from across the pond to discuss all things relating to Pokémon card grading. Started by two friends with a passion for collecting, GradedGem has become one of the world's premier middleman services for those looking to have their cards graded by PSA. They have handled hundreds of thousands of cards and successfully completed thousands of customer orders. They have also given customers the extra benefit of creating high-quality YouTube videos about their submissions and returns. And today, they are here to share all of that knowledge and experience with you, the Pokemon community. So please welcome everyone, the good old chaps from the UK, Connor and Tom from GradedGem. How is it going, fellas?
It's going well.
Yeah,
tiring.
well.
It's going tiring. That's probably the best way to describe the current scene that we're in. It's all a bit exhausting, but it's all good.
Loving it, to be fair. Lots of chat going on. It's good that we can put ourselves back on YouTube a bit because we've kind of hidden away for a couple of months. So when I saw your invite to come on, I was like, yeah, sure, we'll get down to that. We'll get on that.
Well, I'm glad that I finally caught you guys with some free time. I just had James, aka Z, on here a few weeks ago, and he basically gave me the same sentiment of how busy all of you have been. And I'm thankful that I caught you at a good time. So thank you both for being here today. And I know we've got a huge time difference between the two of us, so trying to schedule this was a little bit difficult as well. So I'm glad that we finally made it happen. But guys, where I would like to start, I'd like to go back to the very beginning. And for many people out there that may not be familiar with GradedGem and just how vast of a company you guys have built, I'd like to go ahead and start at the beginning. And if you guys could give us a little bit of background on how GradedGem came to be and how you've built it into what is now a multinational business.
Wow, say it like that. Whoa,
Makes us sound like we're doing something right.
Yeah, that sounds good, doesn't it? So it actually happened. So I joined up to the community 6 years ago, and 5 years ago I started doing silly YouTube videos, showing off my little collection pieces. First edition craziness, which back then was like no money at all, and you could have real fun, and just all in binders. And basically, as my reputation grew, I was able to send cards off for friends to PSA. And it just grew and grew from that. And then thankfully this year, Tom came on board. Was it this? No, it was last year, obviously.
Yeah, it was last year.
Last year, before all the craziness started, Tom came on board and really helped with the tech side of things, the website, and I guess the structure of it. There was obviously a really good idea there, and we've really been able to condense the structure to hopefully provide a top service to everyone, really.
Yeah, I think the main reason I got involved in the first place is because you came to me just because I had a lot more like video knowledge, and you were like, I don't think my videos are great, but I want to do some more. So I watched them and I was like, you need a mic. That's the first thing you need, not just the on-camera mic. And then we moved in together and started a web design business. Yeah. So I kind of helped GradedGem part-time for like 2 and a bit years.
Yeah, it was a way to get you in for free, wasn't it?
He kind of stole me for multiple hours a day whilst I was meant to be doing our web design business. That went really well. We had to dissolve that last March because we was like, I'm going to go full-time with GradedGem. And then COVID happened, and GradedGem closed for a month because PSA closed, and we were like, "Oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea." And then this happened. So
and like you said, we've been able to team up with countries all across Europe: Belgium, Norway, Switzerland, Germany. I'm not forgetting one, am I? Italy.
Yes. You're like our first one, Italy.
Yeah. Was our first one, and then of course we've teamed up with James, Z and G Emporium in the US as well to give you guys that service. And it's been a hell of a year. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade it in for anything. It's also been a lot of fun, and there's a lot of memories to look back on. And obviously, as you've touched on, there's a lot of success there as well. And yeah, that would be it, really.
So what really gave you the impetus to become essentially a middleman and start doing this service with PSA and offering that to a wider audience?
So in Europe, it's actually quite of a pain because you've got the big Atlantic Ocean. That's the right one, right? And I think a lot of times people are worried about sending their valuables, sentimental collectibles off to the States and maybe not seeing it for however long. And now the times have increased even further, but even when it's just 4 or 5 months like it used to be, it's a challenge, because what happens if it gets lost in the post? What happens if US Customs opens it? What happens to, there's challenges that maybe, and stresses, whereas with GradedGem in the UK, you can send it to us in an envelope with a slip, and we just take all the stress out, right?
Yeah, because you just did it for your friends to start off with.
Yeah.
But that was the very first part of GradedGem. Connor decided once to use a middleman, I believe, or looked into it.
Yeah.
And then you were like, nah, doing this on my own. And then other people were like, oh, can I do it with you? And then it snowballed, really. I don't think it was ever the focus, to start off with. Even when we were doing it, when I first moved in, which was like 3 or 4 years ago, it was never like the main thing. We were always going, oh, what else can we do? Should we get into doing things like podcasts? Should we get into doing buying and selling? Should we set up a marketplace? And then all of a sudden, GradedGem just got more and more and more busy. So it kind of became our key focus out of necessity. Yeah,
it forced it, didn't it? It was like, well, this is where the demand is, so we have to focus on that. And that's what we did effectively for the past year. Crazy amount of cards, tens of thousands of cards coming from all across Europe, hundreds of thousands over the past 8 months from the UK and Europe, biggest dealer, from this side of the ocean. So it's I think when you look back at it, you never would have said this is where it would have got, right? And to have all of those places in Europe as well, you just think, how has that happened? They're really good people as well. We got quite lucky, actually.
Yeah,
I would say, with the people we've teamed up with, and James, of course, as well. We found people with integrity who've really helped build the brand further and add to it.
Mm-hmm. So that's so funny, because it sounds to me like you started out just wanting to build content like most people, and this was sort of just a side thing that you were doing, where people were reaching out to you. You were doing a little bit of middleman service, and it just proliferated from that point. So Tom, when did you step in and start to enhance the whole project?
So when we started our web design business 3 or 4 years ago, I had just finished my teaching qualification. So I was a qualified teacher. Connor went to me, do you want to come down and start a business? I was like, yeah, I'll give up the rest of my life, that's fine. So I was instantly like, forget my career, forget all my job prospects. Moved into his mom's smallest bedroom, and we were like, yeah, let's do this. Then the first project was Connor going, I think the very first one was GradedGem.com, the old marketplace.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was GradedGem.com, from a Wix website to first proper website. So then that was like the first thing. And then I'd help him card saver up cards back in the day before GradeFit, the best brand in the world, existed. And then I started helping you with pre-grades and stuff, because you'd go to me, Tom, what do you think of this card? And I'd be like, oh, that's pretty good. There's a little nick there. So then I, over time, became more pre-grady. And then last March, it was literally like, there is too much to do. We are looking at employing quite a few staff now. We need more than just Connor running it full time. So then he offered me a percentage of the business to basically give up on my web design business. So that's when I came big into it.
And regretted that decision ever since.
Yeah, no, it's something good. But it's just since meeting Randolph in November of 2019, it's just not stopped. It's every single day there seems to be both a new challenge and a new kind of opportunity that arises, and we have to go, okay, so what do we choose? Where do we go? I think ever since I've joined, it's been a lot more weird than I think you expected it to be.
Hamster wheel is the way to put it. Fires come up and you have to sort out that fire, and then you can maybe see another opportunity, and you have to try and, well, what can we do to try and get that opportunity? You have to be flexible, on your feet, and you just have to be ready for every day as it comes, because there's been a lot of challenges, obviously, but then at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity because of this growing vast market that just wasn't there a year ago, right? And what we couldn't do is just stagnate and allow, everyone else to just come in and take it apart.
Yeah.
So we've had to, manage it really effectively, and it's pretty cool, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's nice. I've got to say, I've really enjoyed the growth of the YouTube. I've really enjoyed hanging out with new guys and going on podcasts and stuff. It's been really fun. And then on top of that, the actual excitement of building up the services.
Yeah, because part of our web design business was also business consultancy, because a lot of the clients we had were stuck in the 1930s. So we had to kind of drag them into this decade, show them how to use social media and everything. And we just kind of got to do that with our own business, our own baby. We got to mold it into what it is. So I think we used a lot of the stuff that we learned on how to make an effective business more modern, and just did that from the ground up with this, which was nice.
No, can't
Yeah,
put it better.
and I've loved seeing your guys' progress. I remember watching you in the very beginning, back when you were just starting out on YouTube and starting to see you guys grow. This was long before I believe I had even started my YouTube channel. And I tell people all the time, as soon as I started to find out you guys started to grow as a business, I started touting you left and right, because for anybody out there who knows about submitting to PSA on their own, it is a nightmare, or at least can be a nightmare, especially for people who are doing it for the first time. And so as soon as I saw that, I said, oh, I've got to jump on that, start at least my audience that is over in Europe and that particular demographic that you're serving, they need to know about this. And then when you connected with James and he became your ambassador, that's when the rubber met the road. And I really think that's when a lot of it started to take off for you guys, and obviously collaborating with Randolph. And I've built other businesses in my past as well. And when you start out, it never fails. When you start out and you think you have this vision for where the business is going to go, it's going to go 10 different directions along the way. And you're never going to, expect where the next turn is going to take. So there's also a lot of people who are getting into this as well. A lot of middleman services that are being offered out there. You guys are by far and away the largest one that I know of personally, and work with the largest demographic. But for anyone out there that's interested in doing this, what are some of the lessons that you guys have learned along the way that you can share with them, that they can maybe skip some of those hurdles that you had to go through?
That's a good one.
Have a lot of space.
Space is a good one, because I mean, I know that sounds silly.
Yeah.
But if you run out of space, you run out of your, the wheel. Just production stops, like cards will just stop. You have to make sure there's space so you can put those cards, and then you pre-grade those. It's logistics, a lot of it. Really understand your logistics. Really understand, every single card, where it's going, when it's coming back. Understand every single tracking number. In the UK and Europe, you have to clear packages. Understand, you don't want a package not being cleared and then going all the way back over to the States. There's just logistics is probably the number one. You really have to get that right. If you get that right, you're probably on a good start, I would say.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is time as well, because the only way we became a PSA authorized dealer, I mean, we didn't get that until, a year and a half ago? So we had to spend an extreme amount of money with PSA through grading, just in fees, before they give you the correct kind of dealer bracket. So you won't get the same kind of discount that we get if you're doing your first submission with a group. It's sadly just not how it is. I think a lot of it is patience and understanding, and also being able to deal with about 50,000 emails a day on average. If you can do that, you'll be all right.
And USPs, for any business. And if I was going to give any business out there any advice, you have to go, what sector am I in, and what am I doing differently? If you're not doing anything differently, there's no point you being there. As far as I'm concerned, the return videos are something that are unique to ourselves. I know that James does it a little bit differently, but over here we make sure every single card when it's returned gets a video. You have to think, what am I doing differently to the competition? Because if it's just price, the only competition you've got there is getting the lowest price, and that's all that matters. You've got to think of what makes me different, what makes my content different, why would people be loyal to me, and that's something I would say it takes years. I would say the only reason why GradedGem has been this successful this year is because me and Tom have both had the business experience before. I think we would have not fell flat on our face, but I don't think we would have been able to grown as well.
A panic attack halfway through. I think we would have just given up.
Well, we had no brand reputation in the US, or very little in the US before this year. Obviously our competitor was much larger, and he's still much larger in the US than ourselves. Whereas in Europe, it's flipped. It's we are the bigger service over here than our competitor. So it's an interesting dynamic between it, and you just have to think, what are we doing differently in any business? If I was giving business advice, what am I doing differently? How am I providing a better service?
I think that's a great transition into what I really want to get into with you guys here today, and what I think most people are very interested in is what are the changes, or what are the things that you guys have in store for GradedGem to make it an even better service, with all of the changes that have happened now with PSA, with them being bought out by this private investment company. I'm interested to see how you guys are changing and adapting and being able to keep your service at the top for all of your customers.
Oh, that's a question.
I think a big part of that is to do with my job role, right?
Yeah.
So I work very closely with a developer who is I'm into tech, everything to do with tech, programming, scripting, computers. Me and him are working on a lot of new systems for GradedGem, whether that is the update system, which is giving people update emails on every week based on where the position of their cards at PSA, and also a lot more application-based, technical-based solutions to issues that people don't even know they have yet. So, for example, we do pre-grades. People get their pre-grades in an email, in a spreadsheet type way, in a table, and then they email us back with what cards they want going and what cards they don't want going to PSA. That is going to be revamped. The way people make orders eventually will be revamped. There are a lot of things development-wise that are going to like technically advance, which is going to be either on par with or better than what PSA offer.
Well, better. So we have to provide over the next year, 12 months, a better service than PSA does, right?
Yeah.
So the whole point of using us is because we provide a better service than PSA. So we've got to keep fighting that gap and keep pushing away technically. It is the technical side of things, which I'm not the strongest at. The logistics I've done, and it's done. You know what I mean? Like the technical side now is making sure, that's all up to space, and having a website and websites that are on the same par as the top in every single industry. That's going to be where the difficulty is. We saw the problems that PSA's website had when there was speculation the prices were going to change. We saw, although there are very good factors on it on how to submit, at the end of the day, it's on an old platform. Would that be right to say?
Yeah, there are quite a few vulnerabilities technically in the site, which I'd like to iron out for ours. Things that just shouldn't be in a 2020 plus, like, that decade site. There's a lot of things that are a little bit old, a little bit outdated. What else we're trying to do, though, we're also trying to kind of give an easy way to do the submissions as GradedGem. So if you want to submit to PSA, obviously you need something like a card saver or a semi-rigid. We developed GradeFit over here in the UK. It will soon be going to other places as well. But if you buy GradeFits and use them for submissions, they are technically free. So they're £20 for 200. But everyone you submit a card into with GradedGem, you get a 10p discount for GradedGem UK.
Like a rebate.
Yeah, so
and Tom,
you earn that money back.
If you would, give us a little more information on GradeFit. I think everyone out there would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, GradeFit literally happened because me and Connor could not get enough semi-rigids ever. So these were literally just going to be just for us to start off with. And then I decided I wanted to have a little bit of fun on Photoshop and make a brand. And then we was like, oh, actually, that looks like quite a good idea. So we started to sell them. There are other products as well that we sell. We sell the extra large top loaders for jumbo cards, oversized cards, and things like that. We sell PSA sleeves, like sleeves for PSA cards. There are more products coming soon. One very, very soon. Don't know when this video is going out, so I don't know if it'll be live yet. But to do with PSA card or graded card protection or submission, things like that. And we use this stuff every day. Like, we've got our own collections of cards. We want to keep them safe. We need them in sleeves. We also have our own cards that we want to submit, and we have to put every single submitter's card in a semi-rigid. So we wanted those. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the most accessible and high quality product for actual collectors that are out there, because this is a collector's product. This, if you're keeping your cards in these probably aren't investment pieces in here. These are people want to keep them in their collections. Same with the sleeves for PSA cards. You want to make sure they're safe, even if you're sending them out, even if you're sending them in the post, if you're selling them on eBay or whatnot. They're safe. Then they're a little bit more safe than they would have been without it. And I think that's the whole thing, making sure the cards and the graded cards are always the safest and best they can be.
Yeah, so you've got the full scope.
Yeah.
I mean, a word on PSA would be, at the moment, there's a lot of questions about them, because you've not only have you got middlemen services, you've got a lot of grading companies, and you've got other, you've got the bigger competitors, BGS and CGC.
That's a new one.
And that's maybe that might be next week.
Big graded cards.
Yeah.
Big graded cards, guys. And I think a big part of that is we have to listen to submitters and customers and collectors, because PSA have got a backlog now of millions of cards, and who knows where that's going to end up. They're a private entity, like you rightly say. No one knows what their plans are. Like, they could decide to buy up every single other entity. They could decide to get rid of dealers. They could decide to, they could be like, oh no, we are only accepting card savers. At the end of the day, PSA holds all the cards, and if they wanted to, they could, you get it, boom. And they could decide to dramatically change their business now as a private entity. You don't have the same flexibility. If we had 250 other shareholders about GradedGem, and they were like, no, we don't want you to go on this podcast, then we have to consider it, right? So they've got a power there which could be used for good or bad, and it's going to be interesting to see how the next 6 months goes and how PSA card develops. It's going to be something that they've never experienced either.
Well, I love what you guys are doing, especially with the products here, because you're creating a one-stop shop for people. You can get your services taken care of through GradedGem, the products through GradedGem, and what I love also is that it was developed by collectors. You guys have dealt with probably close to 100,000 or more cards, right? I mean,
more.
I'm shortchanging you there, but my point, you guys have dealt with so much product. You know what the best is, what is the best for keeping your products safe. So I love the fact that you're developing products around it as well, and I think that'll be huge. On top of that, on top of the products, and I know I kind of cut you off there, Tom, but I wanted to stress that, because that, to me, that's huge. But on top of that, you guys have a lot of insight, or at least perceived insight, as to what the new developments are with PSA. So what are some of the other things that you guys are doing to maybe speed up turnaround time? Are you guys slowing down on the returns video so you can get products or cards back to consumers faster? What does that look like?
We're not slowing down our return videos. What has happened is, because the last 2 months were so hectic, is we have got some returns videos to put out and publish. And it's quite funny, because I was watching the first one we're going to publish this Saturday, and I've got a big gristly beard because it's about 2 months old, the video. So what I think that's also the other problem is with putting out PSA returns is until people have paid their full balance, we can't put the video out, because we can't share the grades until the video's out. Because if someone goes, oh no, I don't want those cards, so therefore I'm not going to pay. So it's a difficult balance.
And on top of that, we've had to kind of fight with COVID, because our editor has to come to our office, and he's also a school teacher, so it's been kind of hard to get him through COVID to actually be in the office without possibly infecting everybody, or the other way around. So we've had to be like super careful. Our editor's not actually been able to edit that many videos,
because they're not a full-time employee. They just come in and they earn some money. They're quite happy doing it. I guess with the developments of PSA, I would say they're keeping themselves. I think they're keeping their cards to their chest. They're like, I don't think they want to particularly give everyone all the information, what ideas they have. I think what they're saying right now is that they're 500,000 cards a week. Like, if they've had that even for 2 weeks, that is going to overload you. You can't look at anything else. All you can do is deal with what's on your doorstep. It'd be a damn big doorstep at that. Like, that's so many packages. I can't even fathom that many packages in one day. It's crazy. We know the amount of cards we get some days, but that is crazy in a week. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Well, and then on top of that, have you guys considered expanding even further? I know there's other parts of the world I'm sure you're interested in getting into, and adding perhaps some more ambassadors, because this hobby It is far and wide. It permeates throughout the entire globe. Is that something that you're looking at now as well?
I like the sound of GradedGem Global.
Ooh,
That sounds very good, doesn't it?
got a good
GGG.
ring to it.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
I think the most common one we get questions about is Australia. We get
Australia.
questions about Australia probably every week. Though I'd quite like to visit before and like meet collectors and stuff there before. Personally, I got someone new.
I sometimes think it's
Yeah.
quite strange whenever we... So there are obviously middlemen in these countries anyway, and there's middlemen in these other European countries, and there's middlemen in the US, but a lot of the time, the feedback we get when we place a hub there is just astronomical. Like,
Yeah.
it just... So many cards come through immediately, so we must be doing something right, because otherwise, people just wouldn't submit. So we just put a place up, and they must have been submitting with someone or by themselves. So it's obviously a service that's needed.
Yeah, I think before we go for anyone else, I think we do want to we want to at least meet all of our current ambassadors.
Yeah.
And we want to meet any new potential ambassadors in person.
We'll be coming over to Arizona.
Yes, we will.
So maybe we could do a video in person then. We will
That
be
would
coming
be
over.
awesome. Yeah. You guys are coming down here to meet with James, I assume.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we'll be going to see some other PokeTubers, and we hope to go to PSA Card as well.
Yeah. We don't know if they'll let us in yet, but we can keep our fingers crossed and hope.
Yes. Knock, knock, where are my cards? But yeah, we're hoping to do, not a trip, but a work trip over to America. Hopefully in the summer, but obviously it's very dependent on COVID. It's very dependent
At the moment, it's illegal for
on
us
whether.
to go.
Yeah, it's very dependent on whether the Americans think the UK are infected or not.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that goes, but hopefully that's something that'll be happening this summer.
Well, I can tell you, it's they don't call this area the Wild West for nothing. Arizona and Texas are usually the first ones to step out on a limb and say, okay, we're going back to normal, because for the most part now, things are back to normal here. Like we were discussing before the podcast, the differences between the UK and the United States in general, but more specifically, the three states of Florida, Arizona, and Texas have pretty much opened everything back up. Now, I don't know how that relates to international travel and travelers coming over from other countries, but things have pretty much gone back to normal. So I think by the end of this year at the latest, I think that life as we know it should be back to what we're accustomed to.
Fingers crossed. We can't even
Fingers
go for a
crossed.
drink in this country. We can't do anything. We can't go out. We're barely allowed outside.
Yeah, anywhere we go, you have to wear a mask, and you're basically advised not to go outside at the moment. Although I just don't think people are listening anymore. I think everyone's given up a little bit. But with the vaccine news coming, and I think it's going to be really good, because what's happened in the Pokemon community is it's built up a new PokeTubers, and there's so many more people now, and I'm really hoping that when it comes face to face, that's good. There's going to be so much content out there. That's going to be real fun to watch.
Well, I've said it before. I think at this point, at this juncture, we've had so many people that have come into the hobby during the pandemic, and so many people have been reintroduced back into Pokemon and all of the various facets of the Pokemon card hobby in particular. And now there is this hunger for more of the social aspect of people being able to meet the people that they watch every day. And also, I can attest to this. It sounds like you guys have a similar idea. We're wanting to get out into the community and actually see and speak to the people that support us each and every day. And I know that's a goal of mine. Like I told you guys, James, he lives about 20 minutes from me. We've talked also about some ideas that we've got for when everything does go back to normal, about getting out and meeting more people. So I think in the area of content creation, it's going to be fantastic. Once we do go back to normal, the amount of content that we're going to see and the quality of content that people truly appreciate, I think it's going to be really, really great.
No, I hope so.
I think conventions are going to be outstanding. Like when I used to go to a lot of gaming conventions, and there'd be maybe like one stand where people were playing either Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, depending, and one guy with a binder selling it, and that was it. I think it's going to be a whole new world now. I think there's going to be graded card sales, there's going to be raw card sales, there's going to be like panels on investment or collecting, and it's all going to be a whole new thing for me, and I'm just very excited for that.
That'd be pretty cool in the UK. I mean,
Right.
because I think you could definitely have it. Just one big Pokemon convention in the UK would be really cool, especially focusing on TCG. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a thing, because at the moment, you are right, it's kind of on the side, it's kind of a niche, whereas during the pandemic it's grown into this beast. So hopefully that's what the future entails.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it extends beyond the faces that you see each and every day. To take for an example, there's a gentleman that I'm going to be working with who's a distributor here in the local Phoenix area who has various card shops, local card shops. He is building a 22,000 square foot building that will house everything, basically every trading card game. And we had a long conversation the other day, and he said, I want to have YouTubers in there. I want to host regional tournaments there. He basically wants to have it as a hub for the southwestern United States for people to gravitate towards.
Welcome to a video.
Yeah, we'll do a video there.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be fantastic. I think the content we're going to see is going to be truly, truly great. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys down here. What time of year are you expecting to come down? Because that's really important in Arizona.
August.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
August.
Isn't it like 1,000,000 degrees there in August?
Yeah, it's going to be toasty, fellas. Make sure you bring your sunscreen and make sure you bring your shorts and flip-flops because it's going to be toasty. But that time of year, it'll probably still be about 115 outside. Right now would have been a good time because it's like 70 degrees every day, which is really nice.
No,
but,
hotter the better.
I'm still going to wear a coat.
So the other thing that I got to ask you guys, we've been talking about some of the new developments, some of the things you guys have in mind. You are so proficient with PSA now. I have to ask you, is there any ideas of expanding into other grading companies? Beckett has obviously been a player for a long, long time. And now we've got CGC, who is a big up-and-comer. A lot of exciting things going on with CGC. Have you guys considered perhaps teaming up with some of these other big two?
Not the other big two. I think from my perspective, because now that PSA are in the worst position they've ever been as a company, because the amount of the cards, not in the worst position, it is a very challenging time.
Also the best.
The worst and the best.
More business, yeah.
The problem is that business is now very, very quickly going to overload Beckett and CGC
in the same way.
And the issue that every collector's probably going to find is PSA has the biggest infrastructure. So as soon as they're struggling, then everyone, unfortunately Beckett or CGC don't have 125,000 square feet. They don't have another 50,000 square feet. They don't have 750 employees. I don't think right now we could offer a service with those other big two that would be proficient enough and good enough for our customers, because just as of right now, because at least with PSA they get their cards back and they've got the highest value cards at the moment. So if anyone was going to come in and we were going to partner with anyone, it'd more than likely be a new player or someone who was really trying to differentiate, push the boundaries, and who welcomed our business and could hit expectations from our submitters and customers. That's kind of where I've got it right now. But things are fluid.
Yeah.
And if Beckett and CGC reach out after we put this out and they go, whoa, no, come to us, then
2-day turnaround, $0.
It's very particular on the company. But PSA have treated us very well in general, and that's not a relationship we want to burn just out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously that at the moment they are the biggest and they are the market leaders, but anything can happen at the moment because the market is so quick moving and flexible. Mm-hmm. In 6 months' time, we might be having totally different conversations to ones we're having right now.
Mm-hmm. And piggybacking off of what you said about the things that would, the factors that would allow you guys to say, yes, this is a company I would like to work with, what would be some of those? Because I've discussed this with James before about what we would like to see in a grading company, some of the things that, or the opportunities that we think are out there for grading companies. I'm interested to see your take on this and what it is that you would like to see, and you would say, yep, that's the company I'd like to go with.
Capacity would be number one. if they've got the capacity to deal with the cards. But on a more, I think, on a creative level, someone who is different to the norm. At the moment, you've got your nice labels and you get your grade, and that's that. I would like to see someone who pushes the boundaries out there, really pushes it to collectors. We do our returns videos. Why is there no reason why a grading company can't do those? Or, there's so many different ideas that they could do, and bring it into the 21st century. Like that's what PSA is trying to do, but they're such a massive company, it's going to be difficult for them to do it. I could probably sit here all day and give you a million ideas of what they should do. I would like to see Charizards having their own labels. I'd like to see populations of the, I'd just like it all more transparent. Why can't we see inside PSA? Why can't we see inside these other companies? What is it that potentially they don't think we'll like? That is maybe what then needs to happen.
You just made me think of, imagine a new Charizard comes out and the first one ever graded at a 10 PSA gets like a special like number 1 or something.
Look at that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Those kind of things would just be nice. Having a bit of a unique feature to your card, not just a certain number that's like a random 8-digit number or something like that.
And that would also mean that buying the first card, normally it's so expensive. Then if you bought it, it would still have an added value because it's proven as the first card ever to get that gem. There's so many ideas that someone could put into place, but it's not hard. Not easy, sorry.
Yeah.
Like logistically, it would be difficult. I think to do it right, you would probably have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe $1 million. I think you could do it with $50,000 ex PSA grader and one of those seal things. I think you would really have to go all in to really give the market confidence that you're providing a service that people can pay for.
One of the things that I've thought of, and James and I both agreed on this, beyond just the unique features that we would like to see with PSA in particular, but really all grading companies, really I think it boils down to, in the end, we all want to see consistency as well. I think that's huge in the collecting community, where I've given the example before of moving more towards a more algorithmic or computer-based grading and less emphasis placed upon the actual human graders, where it has that subjective nature, where I've said before, if you ran a card through 10,000 times, it would come back in the exact same grade no matter how many times that you ran it through. And also moving more towards that, you guys know technology has an exponential growth. The more that it grows, the cheaper that it becomes, and the faster that you can get cards back out there to collectors, people who are submitting, people like yourself who are being the middleman in that and getting cards back to the consumers. What do you think in that regards? Is that something that you'd like to see as well?
That's a new one.
Yeah, I love everything to do with AI, especially image recognition and stuff. It's all great systems. Obviously, we've seen ridiculous AI improvements from things like Tesla and SpaceX, and just being able to have that trickle down, because that's what tech does. Tech starts off at the space race, and it always trickles down.
Yeah.
The stuff we're seeing with image recognition, with even the other way around, deep fakes and things like that, it's getting insanely good, very accurate. I think there's definitely a future for it. Do I think it's perfectly accurate right now? Maybe not. Maybe there's still a little bit of a learning curve, but I would love it if you could just put it on a flatbed and just send cards through, and they could go, that one's an 8, that one's a 7, that one's a 10, that one's an 9. Like that'd be
Could I throw devil's advocate out there? I actually wonder whether that would be a product collectors would want. And I'll speak plainly. Those primes back there, none of those would be an AI 10. Like they just wouldn't. Primes were rubbish print, right? They're really bad print. They're very low population cards. And if you had to say that PSA 10 is exactly the same as a PSA 10 from a brand new Japanese card, it's not the same. It's relative to the card print. And whether collectors wanted that or not, you might have to have 8 different AIs running for this Evolutions had this sort of print, Burning Shadows had this sort of print, and relative to its sets or relative to its print years, it's a Gem Mint 10. Because otherwise,
AI could do that.
Do you see what I mean? Like that's
it'd pick up on set symbols, it'd pick up on key characteristics of the card. It'd have to know what card it was. It'd have to know that first, so then it could adjust the algorithm if you did want it to grade in that way anyway. But
you could surely you could move the AI to how you wanted it to eventually
but
become.
I'm more of the kind of mindset that a 10 should be a 10. Like
But
a perfect 10. Like in my head, if it's got chips or scratches or anything, it doesn't matter on the print run. Like it's not a 10 to me. So I'd quite like the AI way, and you wouldn't.
I think the example I would use is subgrades. I think in general collectors always say they want subgrades, but then they buy the PSA 10. So that's the example I would use. They all collectors and investors always go, oh, I want more information about this card. But then when they're told that something's a 9 on their edging or whatever, but it's still a 10, they don't want to see that. They just want to see it's a 10. So that's the argument I would use against that. So it's
people want more information if it's positive based, but they don't want any more information if there's anything negative to say about it.
If it works out in their favor. No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Going off of that, though, like you said, there are certain sets, there are certain cards when you compare Japanese cards to English cards right off of the printing press. Japanese cards, very much a higher quality product. And I think regardless if we had AI built in that would be able to differentiate that or not, I think we as the community would eventually, we would build our connotation or our ideas of that around what we're seeing. So if we see, it is almost impossible to get a PSA 10 in, I'm trying to think back to a horrible, we'll just say Evolutions, horribly printed set.
Yeah.
It's almost absolutely impossible. Well, we will know then, like, basically a PSA 9 is what was the PSA 10. That is the gold standard for Evolutions, and we would kind of build that into our own data over time. You know what I mean? Hopefully that kind of makes sense.
Oh, I totally agree. But then on the flip side, what happens to all those cards you've graded previously? So there would be big pushback from the old school collectors. I'm like, well, wait there. My Shining Charizard first edition, that's still PSA 10. I don't care about your new AI. It says PSA 10 on the label. So I'm just trying to give the other opinion. Actually, there would be a lot of pushback. I don't feel PSA would ever go to a fully AI-based thing, because then they have to go, well, what about the millions of cards we've graded before? Are those grades now worthless? And that would... it's gonna take someone to come. What do they call them? The new companies that come in, like Uber and stuff. They wreck the old industries. What do they call them?
Video killed the radio star. That's all I can think of. The old song.
I think it would take a brand new company to come in and do it from fresh, and then beat PSA. I don't think PSA would do it, because it doesn't make sense for their business. So it would take a brand new company to come in and do that. And yes, then it could work. Absolutely.
No, I agree with you. There definitely would be a lot of pushback there from everything that was submitted before. So yeah, it would be a fine balance. I think you're right. It would take another company coming in, or perhaps a company like CGC who is just starting out now. They see, hey, there's opportunity here. We haven't got overloaded yet. We can actually be a game changer in this market. And I've mentioned that before.
No, I agree. Like one of those, a disruptor. Is it a disruptor?
Yeah,
a new
industry disruptor. Yeah,
industry disruptor. That's what they could do. Yeah, you're right. They're not there yet. But like I was saying earlier, what's the USP? What are CGC doing differently? Not a lot different to BGS and PSA.
Yeah, then they could call themselves computational grading company.
Yeah. So I think if you're thinking about that USP again, that AI could definitely work. A brand new company disrupting these old industries. PSA's been around for 40 years. And it might take a technological disruption for them to wake up and change, because realistically, right now it's pandering to them. They love it. Like the profits and the revenue they're making must be a joke. I mean, it's probably a Chinese telephone number, right?
Well, one of the other things that just came across my mind, another thing that I think they could really capitalize on from the computer or algorithm based area, another facet that they could add would be, when you were talking about the facial recognition or whatever term that you used, perhaps at some point they can offer another aspect of their business where they can identify fake products, where they offer a service. If you think that maybe a product that you have is fake, a first edition base set booster box, you can send it in. Perhaps there's some kind of x-ray or some kind of program that they can use where they can go in and they can tell you, yes, in fact, this product is legitimate, or no, it appears with a certain percentage likelihood that this is an invalid or fake product.
Oh yeah, you'd definitely be able to do something like that. It would go off like the Pantone numbers that have used in the colours. In the box, you'd look for the printing lines, you'd look for the sharpness, you'd look for all that kind of stuff, you'd look for the exact dimensions. Yeah, like you'd definitely be able to program it in with the correct developer. And I guess you'd pay a pretty penny as well to validate a first edition booster box. It's just how many of those high-end collectibles would you be able to learn off? Because AI always needs to learn off something else, so you'd need multiple copies to learn off in the first place. I think that would be the hardest limiting factor for something like that, but it is a great idea.
But yeah, the basis of PSA authentication. They're authenticating that it's real. That's the core. If you don't have that, then you don't have anything. If PSA started slabbing fake cards, or any other company, if they started slapping fake cards, their reputation's down the toilet immediately, right? That has to be the very basis of any of these authentication grading companies.
Yeah, definitely. Just something else that I think could add a new dimension, because that is the other big facet of the hobby, or something that we're seeing that has just blown up in the last few years, is fake products. And it would be nice to have a service where you could, with a certain percentage of likelihood, be able to say that yes, this is in fact an authentic product.
And especially as printing gets better from the counterfeits, and that will happen at the end of the day. It will follow money. They made better Dr. Dre counterfeits when Dr. Dre was the Beats were all the things.
I was going to say, just of Dr. Dre, they made
just Dr. Dre counterfeits. But they made great Beats counterfeits when Beats was the biggest. But now Pokemon's big, they're going to be able to make better and better and better counterfeits. And when you're talking one card potentially being worth tens of thousands of dollars, or more, some people could take that to the absolute limit to achieve the original print. It's a danger.
We've
if it
seen
ever happened.
A lot more accurate fakes come through counterfeit cards, where our staff members have been like, something feels a bit off about this, and only because of like Connor being in the game for years and me having a weird eye for detail, like between us, we've been like, no, that isn't real. That is a very good copy. It's a very good proxy. Is the term I believe everyone's using at the moment.
They've definitely got better.
But they are incredibly close.
I think a year ago you could buy those 100 job lots on eBay, couldn't you? You probably still can now, and it would just be the same card with a gloss over it. And the technology has definitely got better over the last 8 months, and it's going to be a challenge for PSA, because these sort of counterfeit companies will go for the easy targets. They'll go for cards that maybe are a bit easier to counterfeit. So who knows where, in the next 12 months, we could see that someone replicates a card set, or even just one card, to the point where 99% of people go, yeah, that's genuine.
Yeah, I think Pokemon Company themselves are making it a lot harder, especially with the rarer cards. Like, I'd be impressed if someone could create a good copy of, say, one of the new gold secret rares or the rainbow rares with like the whole glitter pattern. That would be insanely difficult. But just a flat holographic foil print, it's not that hard now.
For sure. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where all of that goes, and if it's not PSA, because as you said, at their core, all of these grading companies, it's authentication and encapsulation. That is at the core of their business structure. So it will be interesting to see if they ever incorporate that at some point. And I guess that's a nice transition into kind of the last topic here that I'd like to discuss with you guys. And as I said before, you are really, if anybody knows what changes are coming with PSA, I would assume that it is their dealers. And I know that they pretty much have a closed door policy at PSA and not a whole lot trickles out of there. But what, if anything, have you guys heard about that we can expect on the horizon?
I think, I'll be honest, I think their biggest development is going to be sorting that backlog out. And then from there, they are going to price themselves not only as the best, that, you know, that's the I think that will be his vision in the future. Will be he might actually just go only for the top tier cards. He might not.
You mean that, correct?
Nah, or
Yeah.
you know, the group might just be like, well, PSA is the best, and maybe it's a minimum of $25-$30 to even have your card encapsulated by us, because you're getting an investment grade collectible. We've been around for 40 years. If the card is damaged somehow in our case, we'll cover it. That is potentially where they could go, because they've been overwhelmed with the bulk. You know, they've been that's what's happened, frankly, and they might decide actually we're gonna make more money per card, keep the same profit levels by having 1/3 less of the cards, and just getting the cards in and out quicker. That's kind of where my head would be, because PSA as a brand is very valuable. That's where my head would be.
Grading 1,000 SM2 on one Charizard GXs cheapens the brand a little bit, in my eyes. I expect it to be the pieces you want to collect, the rare pieces, the fun pieces, whatever it is, but the collectible pieces that are going into your collection. So the people that are just grading evolutions, reverses, commons from XY era, to me, if I was PSA, I wouldn't want that. Like, really, I'd want this to be like, this is for important things. This is for Michael Jordan. This is for Charizard. This is for Babe Ruth. But yeah, I think
and they might just allow other companies to come in and take the $10 bracket. Like, but
in terms of what they've told us, it's not a lot.
Yeah, like they're not making tons of money on that. Like, so that's just speculation. But if I'm looking at it from a private investor's point of view, I'm looking at about how I can improve the brand and how I can increase my revenue and profit, and that's kind of the two places. That's the place I would.
Yeah, well, it's also provide the service without being overwhelmed.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah. It doesn't help them. Like in his latest newsletter, he said it cheapens our brand to be like this. It's not what we want. Who would want that? You know, it makes their service look cheaper. So I think there's going to be quite big changes personally over the next 6 months. I think the guys who've come in, they haven't just bought this company without a clue. And to just take money from it. I think they radically want to change this company and the whole scene in general, to be fair.
Well, it makes sense, right? I mean, when somebody is looking at it, and even for those lower tier cards, the fact that you can pay, especially with you guys, at least on the previous system, you know, $8, $9, $10 a card, and you can 10x or more the value of that card on the secondary market, there's a cognitive dissonance there, and you look at somebody like that and they're saying to themselves, yeah, we either need to increase our threshold of what we are willing to take, or we have to just increase the prices to a point where we only attract the people that are very serious and the cards that are worth that same price point.
Yeah, no, that's the way I see it going. I think that's what PSA will do. They'll sell themselves as the premium grading company. I think that is probably, if I was PSA, that gives them a lot of arrows to their bow. And the good thing is, once you put yourself there, it's very hard for someone to disrupt that. Yeah. Someone can come in and disrupt the $10 value range. That's quite easy. We've already spoken about it, like the AI base, but to actually disrupt the high-end card collecting, unless you already have a reputation, it's going to be difficult to do it.
Well, Mickey Mantle's always going to sell in PSA, isn't he? He's never going to sell in a CGC slab, really. I don't know, he might sell in the Beckett slab with a pristine 10, but Charizard, yeah, you're still going to get the highest price, really, for a PSA 10 for a base set first edition card. That's the one that's always thrown about when you see a news article. Pokemon card sells for X amount of dollars. Like, so if I was them, I'd stick to the high end.
Yeah, that's kind of where I think they'll go. I think they could have a lower bracket still, but I don't think they'll be accepting hundreds of thousands of cards again. I think they actually kind of stated in that newsletter they don't want to grow to be 1,500 employees. They kind of hinted at that. They kind of hinted, well, we're going to hire more people and we're going to get more space, but we're not going to be like a massive 220,000 more square feet, and we're not going to go and employ, double our team again. I think they kind of hinted at that. They don't want all the massive overheads that go along with that. And many people forget that. If they had all those massive overheads and then, let's say, the hobby fell off, that's a massive risk for them as well.
For sure. That's a lot of real estate. That's a lot of overhead to have to then dispense with. So, hypothetically, should something like this happen and they do go to this gold standard of grading and it's only the top tier cards, how does that affect GradedGem? Do you think that if that's the case, that you will only be able to go through PSA and there won't be dealers offered at that point?
That could be the way they go. I mean, I wouldn't be overly surprised if that, like, at the end of the day, they're a private entity now, and they might be like, well, we want to control the whole supply chain. From our perspective, obviously, we'd say it's a weakness because we provide the whole collector point of view, and it's not just a faceless corporation.
Yeah, it's more of an experience if you go through GradedGem, in my biased opinion. But you get the videos, you get the kind of personalities behind it, you get proper communication from collectors to collectors. There's a lot more that we add, but PSA might disagree with that. PSA might be like, nope, we're happy with our faceless corporation controlling every single card. Money.
And yeah, that could be somewhere they go. So it'd be very interesting to see what they do, because at the end of the day, GradedGem's brand has great strength as well.
Yeah.
It's not like it would just go to nothing if PSA decided to change the direction. We can change our direction and a lot quicker. So yeah, it's going to be another interesting 12 months, isn't it? Hopefully we've got a little bit more control over the next 12 months. But I would probably agree with your point. I reckon we could write a whole business plan from here and say we'll end up here in 12 months, and that's just not the way it's going to go, is it? We're going to be this way, that way, and we'll have to keep going, really.
Yeah, and on the flip side, going along those same lines, if PSA does go to a more gold standard system, the middleman may become even more important at that point, because as you said, you are the face. The closed doors at PSA, the faceless company, I don't think people want to see that. Even if they're sending their cards there to become encapsulated, authenticated, and they are high value cards, to still have a face to the organization, and especially guys like yourself, I think that's something they're always going to want to hold on to and always have that relationship there. And still offering that, the ease of being able to do so, I think is so invaluable. And that's what I love, more than anything with you guys, is how transparent you are, how easy you make it on everyone to submit their cards, to get those cards back to them safely, and also to provide that entertainment aspect of getting to see their cards shown for the first time after being graded in front of hundreds of thousands of people. All those eyes. It really is fantastic.
We get overly excited with returns videos. We hide grades from each other. So if Connor's doing the video, I'll sort out the cards so I know the grades and Connor doesn't, and vice versa. So then when we get to do the video, we'll be like, "Oh wow, it got 10!" And we get it's as nice for us as it is for the submitter. Usually, the submitter might be like, "Oh, I can't wait to see my card and hope it got a 10," and we're there like, "Hee, we already know," and we get super excited. No, there's nothing better than seeing someone getting a good grade.
It's the most fun part of the job.
I agree.
Outside of the logistics and all the boring business stuff, the most fun part is getting those cards on this desk and getting them on camera and going, wow. And that is something that we enjoy,
especially when people are going for certain things as well. So we've got certain submitters that go only after PSA 1s, and we've got some that are going for a 1 to 10 set and they really need a 3, and 4 or 5 times they've got a 2, and then they've got 3 4s in a row, and you're like, come on, have you finally got it this time? You turn it over and they've got it, and it's just great. It's so good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. In my same capacity as well, whenever I'm doing box openings, box breaks, providing giveaways to people, I tell people all the time, I have more fun pulling a card for somebody else than I ever did pulling it for myself. And it sounds like you guys have the same sentiment.
No, it's absolutely, isn't it so much fun when you're excited for the other person who's joined your box break and you get them that card? How exciting is that? And then that person really appreciates you, and you kind of bond with that person as well, and you get your audience you're doing yourself, and you grow it, and it's really fun. Sometimes I do the phone calls here, and sometimes people are like, it's almost like I know you. It's like, you don't. You just see me on YouTube, you know. But that's great. That's what we want. And it's
also a nice avenue to. So because I didn't come into the collecting scene, I came into the tech side of it with Connor at the start. I never grew my own collection straight away, and I never kind of felt like I needed to, because I was seeing tens of thousands of cards every week. And I was like, I really like the gold stars. I get to see them all pretty much every day. Get to enjoy them every day. Oh, I really like base set first edition. I get to see it all the time. There's no card in Pokemon besides the Illustrator Pikachu that I can think of off the top of my head, and maybe a couple of the Tropical Mega Battle cards that I've not seen and not been able to enjoy in front of my face in person. And that's a really good thing as well. We definitely, some of the members of staff here get it as well. John, who's one of our guys, loves Yu-Gi-Oh! And Legend of Blue Eyes first edition comes through, and he's like, "Oh, wow, can I have a look?" And it's we're all just big kids, really. We just love it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, such an awesome experience. And guys, again, I appreciate you being here so much today and sharing all of your insight. For anyone out there, now, like I said, I have touted you guys again and again on my channel. I love the service that you provide, both over in Europe, worldwide, here in the United States, Canada, wherever you're at. This is such an awesome service. But for anybody out there that isn't familiar with you, that wants to learn more, that maybe wants to get their cards graded through GradedGem, where can they go? What are your various handles that they can learn more?
Go on, you're the best at this.
So we've got GradedGem, which is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The website is gradedgem.com. We've got Graded Groudon over on Instagram and BaseTom over on Instagram as well. We publish updates, or what I do is usually just take photos of weird things like games consoles. So mine's not actually all that useful. Connor's got loads of cool cards though, so go check them out. There will be update videos all the time, as much as we can, on the YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe to that, because then if you're wondering what is the answer to this question, you'll probably find it on there. Our Facebook group and our Facebook page are both quite useful. The Facebook group is very busy all the time, so maybe just follow the page. But the website as well has all the updates on it, and that's going to be kind of the hub for all the new development stuff. It's all going to get pushed to there, and you'll have all the new features.
And to end that, I would just like to say, if anyone from GradedGem is here, I would recommend subscribing to this channel.
Oh yeah, if you haven't subscribed here,
it's silly if you haven't. You need to subscribe to this channel. You're putting out great content. The masterclass playlist we're just looking through, you've got silly amount of guests. I'm envious. Yeah, definitely subscribe here, get some more content, putting out great content and some really intelligent stuff as well.
And us.
And us. Make sure you subscribe to us.
Not as intelligent, but fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I beg to differ, guys. You guys have built an amazing company here, and again, if I have any way that I can project that or get that out to the wider audience, it's really just going to benefit everybody. But guys, thank you again so much for being here today. Hopefully, maybe I'll get to see you guys here soon. Remember, sunblock, shorts, and flip-flops.
And a coat.
Well, hey guys, that is going to do it for this Pokemon Masterclass. We will see you all next time. Take care, everybody.